Okay, we're starting to talk about the gold membership level indicators for NinjaTrader, which include the uh, energy bands and the energy band overlays and so forth. And eventually there might be a workspace for you that looks like this. In fact, we'll give you this workspace. However, I want to look at the indicators one by one so you can pick these apart. They're a little different than the classic Drummond tools, but built along the same principles and with the same kind of multiple time period thought in mind. So let's just pause here for a second and look at these indicators one by one. This is the starting point for the energy band tools. It's the energy band itself. If we go to our indicators, we can see that we have a number of them on this chart, but only this one turned on. It's the energy bands. This is the only one that's visible here on this chart. And it consists of a number of elements, as you can see. Basically, the elements are the top energy band here, the pink band going up and down, the bottom energy band going up and down, a midline goes up and down, and a series of dots above and dots below. You see these switch sides when the market is switching, and I'll explain how that works in a second. The settings here. Let's just get this panel up here so we can see the settings properly. Settings are as follows. The dot size refers to these dots here on the top and bottom. The down dots are one color, the up dots are another color. The region color is the color of the band itself. The opacity, you can set that to 1 to 10 to a stronger opacity or not. We set it to a stronger opacity, so we'll go back down to 3 or 4. Whatever you choose there is fine. This is a live indicator, and it's live on the lattice on the most recent bar. If you click this and refresh, it'll reload everything live from the get-go and end up with a live. But it does not project into the future like our bars do, because it's always live. This is always live here, so we don't go into the future and hit the future bar with a PL, as we do with a PL dot, where the PL dot's static, and so we need to see a live. This is live on the current bar. Okay, these are all fairly straightforward. All of NinjaTrader indicators have these input series and so forth. We want to calculate it on each tick. The displacement is 0. All of this is right here. Now these plots, let's see what are these plots, and they're labeled in an unhelpful manner. The Oct1 and Oct6 relate to the top and the bottom lines of these bands. So these can be set to a color. Let's just pick we don't want to pick transparent. Let's pick black to a color just for illustration. You see, there it is. It's that. So these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 will let you draw a line on top or bottom of the bands, and you can then dispense with the bands entirely if you like and just leave the lines or whatever. Now the middle line, it's called E-mid, is very, very similar to the PL dot. It's been smoothed a little bit, and you have a dot and a line that you can set the parameters for any way you choose. Okay, now let me just say something about what what these bands are. As you look at this, it's clearly related to the Drummond envelope, but how is it related to the envelope? And it's thusly: the pink bands, the energy bands themselves, are the top 30% of zone 5 of the envelope system, which is what we have determined in using the envelope system and the zone system to be really the most useful element for flagging extremes. And you can see how, indeed, you can see how often it contains the market. And whenever we get above that, we're interested in kind of moving back inside very quickly, and so that's a helpful trading indicator. The other thing that has been turned out to be very helpful is the slope of the envelope itself, and that is indeed the source of these dots moving up and down. When the slope of this line changes from up to down, then the dots switch sides, and so you see green dots for uptrends, red dots for downtrends. When you see that dot appear after a crest like this, you can go south. And as long as this dot stays inside this envelope, you're pretty safe being south one way or another. And similar here. So that's a trading lean. If you want, you can lean on that or not. You can take it off. I don't use the dots myself because I can see the slope change, but you may find it very, very helpful. So that's like a beginning point on the energy bands. Now let's look at the next step in this little journey that we're on, and that would be to take a look at the, let's just see what we got here. We're going to look at the overlay bands. Now the overlay bands are exactly what you think they might be. They are the higher time period version of the bands overlaid on this. Okay, so just let me pause for a second and we'll come back to this. Okay, we're moving on now into the gold indicators. We've talked about the energy band. I've changed our compression up here so we have a daily chart, and I'm going to add now to this chart the energy band overlays. And this is easy to do. It's on the chart. All I have to do is turn it on. Okay, so here we are with this. Now I'm going to change the. I'm going to leave the colors as this here, but I'm going to change the bottom to be the same because it can be the same or it can be different, and I'm going to change that to be different here. Just a second. I'm going to make it lime. Where's my lime? You know, it's wonderful that they have so many colors, but naturally you have trouble choosing. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this on, make it visible, and then I'm going to apply it. And you see now we've basically added a higher time period band. Same principle as this. These would represent the top 30% of zone 5 of roughly of the weekly envelope. And if we were to put on the classic PL dot envelope, you'd see here that it follows along very well. The E mid is almost exactly the PL dot. It is changed somewhat. It's smoothed somewhat. The envelopes are smooth somewhat, but it's basically the envelope system in different terminology. The graphics are much better, and we've added these little trading indicators that might be helpful. Okay, so that's the bands overlay. Now there's something else we're going to add to this or take a look at. I'm going to turn the overlay bands off, and I'm going to turn on the yellow wrap. The yellow wrap is something new and a little different. It is a longer term moving average bands, longer term moving average bands. We might think of these as if the daily is a 3-period moving average, the bands might be a 20-period moving average or something like that. But it's smoothed and manipulated and overlaid on this. So one of the ways you can use that is that if you find yourself in a trade situation and you begin to move into a down move, you can stay with that trade as long as you're dealing with the yellow bands. So okay, so this is the overlay. We have the overlay energy bands and the yellow wrap. Okay, I can turn the overlay bands off. So now we're starting to get the components of the trading pattern. And you see that with the careful manipulation of the colors and so forth, you can have a chart that starts to be pretty understandable and clear to work with. And so the components are really pretty easy, and you can get all 4 time periods onto a single chart. Now, it goes further. Let's just take another step here. We have now the yellow bands, the energy bands, and the overlay bands. There's also an overlay wrap. Let's just see if we got here. Let's see. Overlay wrap. That's what we want there, the overlay wrap. Okay, so there we are, and we're going to make this visible. It is visible, and we're going to apply it. And basically, will be a higher time period of. No, I got to do a little configuration here. Let me hold off, and I'll get this back to you. Okay, now I've added the very largest time frame here. So on this chart, we have the energy bands running, but I've turned off everything, the dots and so forth, to clean it up a little bit. We have the overlay bands running. We have the yellow wrap not running, but we have the overlay wrap running. So let's see how we look at these things now. So here's our energy bands. Here's our overlay. And here in our I guess here, let's see, we want this, yeah. Okay, here in our very highest time frame, the very highest time frame is the overlay wrap. So you can see with midline and 2 bands on the outside. So a familiar channel system, very highest time period. I think this is set to a month, and with a daily bar and weekly overlays. So you can see how the energy bands follows and tracks the classic system, but with some enhancements in graphics and smoothing that make it pretty interesting to use. And you're able to get all 4 time frames graphically on the same page. So hopefully this is a little bit of orientation. The indicator panels start to fall into a pattern, so they're easy to understand once you have the general concept down. Upper band color, lower band color, the olive. I set these all for the overlay bands. Time period monthly can be set to anything, of course. The regional opacity lets you set the strength of the coloration of the panels of the sections. So, for example, if we set this to 8, we'd see this color block become very strong. Won't we? We would, yes. 9. What's going on here? Apply. Okay, so I got the right one. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is the one I was controlling. You make the area very dark and so forth. So for the area opacity, and these can be applied to the inner and outer as well. See, I think there's our top one, which has been made very opaque as well. So this is how these are set up. We'll be having some sample workspaces and some trading guidance on these as you go along. You can see how the overlays here are very helpful. The energy bands were up in here in the top of the energy bands. The color of the dots switch. We're at this point here. We've crossed into a resistance area here. You can see how it might be a great deal of help in your trading. Okay, so that's it for this series. We're going to move on to some other things now.